Yeah, 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 yeah.
But and that's when it comes to us, being salesmen and full of integrity and stuff like that. We have to deal with that, and obviously the customer's always right. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up. I didn't prepare Steve anything with this, but I just want to make sure all you customers out there that don't play nice. No.
First of all, you'll never hear me say that.
Yeah, true.
The customer is not always right. Am I the first sales or business professional to ever record that?
I'm glad you're being honest right here. No.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, there's been business over the last dozen years I've been doing this, and even prior to this, when I was with Sprint and Nextel, that I walked away from business because there was something that compromised, my principles and my morals, and that's not the kind of business that we work with. I think that ties in with something else I hope to talk about today, which is building out diversity in the workspace. And right now is as relevant a time as ever to have that conversation, right? So there are certain people who won't buy from certain people because of, hey, I don't buy from men, I don't buy from women, I don't buy from African Americans, I don't buy from homosexuals, whatever it is.
Yep.
And that's just not something that I've ever, cared about. If that's something that's important to you and you feel really impassioned that you can't work with one of my salespeople because of one of those key characteristics, then quite frankly, go buy from somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't want your business, and ComDoc will be just fine without it. So we just don't want that kind of, lack of love in our business, quite frankly. So, I feel comfortable going on the record saying the customer isn't always right.
I like it. That was well put. That's what I was trying to lead him into saying all that.
Yeah. Nice job. Put that meatball right down the middle.
Yes. I'm good at that.
No. Oh no. Oh no.
But no, it's I mean, I couldn't say it better myself. And dude, I hope a lot of people and people that are sales professionals, latch onto that and kind of, ride that as part of their daily principles and when they're doing their jobs and selling whatever they sell. But obviously a part of a couple sales jobs I've had, we talked about the importance of, knowing like objections and knowing your product. And, just preparation, you can't go to appointment just showing up and like, hey, how you doing? And just expecting it to go. But
after time, you might be able to get away with it. But in the first few years, that might be tough.
Yeah. Well, we're not all, John Ergaza's. He's a coworker.
Papu.
He's old as dirt. No, I'm joking. No, but
legally, I can't even comment on that. So.
But like talk about just I guess we can talk about objections, and if you're looking to be a sales professional, I mean, you got to know how to handle pushback from the customer, or it's just going to be because I went through this where a customer pushes at me, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'll see you later. I guess I won't sell that to you. But obviously, I'm never going to be successful if I continue with that path. So.
You're doing better, Percy. I can say honestly, he's coachable.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing you got to be. We should probably talk about that, though, being coachable. But
you do, and I love that part of yours and Micah's podcast. And Micah, mentioned, if you love someone, you owe them the feedback, and that's something that one of my mentors, Stu Wise, taught me: is feedback is a gift. And when I give it to you, and when you give it to others, that's something that you do out of love. And sometimes it can seem critical, but you need to put it in a format that, can be handled and delivered in a constructive manner, which hasn't always been my forte. Pretty direct person, but those are all really, really important things. And when you're trying to create a culture within your workplace, which is something that, I mean, how many times a week do you hear that word, Percy?
Oh my. Culture.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we do. That's my whole push, is creating a culture. It's really important to make sure that all of those intangibles are intact. It's just the same way with a successful sports organization, any business, right, Josh?
Yeah.
I mean, you've experienced it with your employers and the different organizations you've interacted with, right?
Oh yeah, yep, absolutely.
Culture.
I think we need a camera for Josh moving forward.
No, it's all good, man.
I'll spin this one around. It might freeze up again for the fourth time. No, I'm kidding.
But I mean, when you go in deep into something like that, like, handling objections or just knowing what you got to deal with every day, it's hard. And they always compare sales to sports. And, that's why, the funny thing I remember about you, Steve, you didn't come after me hard and recruit me to come work at ComDoc when you first when you first realized I retired. And I kind of admired that, but I don't understand why I admired that until we actually went through the hiring process. But,
I don't know that I knew you well enough to know if I really wanted you the first
Yeah,
time.
I guess I like it. I say I like it. I like it. I like it. I mean, that's good. And
I'd always heard good things.
well, I hope so. Hope so. You know, me and Michael were talking about, you know, there's some people in this county that we just didn't, you know, vibe well with. So, you know, hopefully
I find
I'll
that
always
hard to
heard good
believe.
things.
I find that hard to believe. You and Mike are pretty well respected men in the community.
See, you heard it here first, Steve VanHorn. We're pretty respected. Speaking of respect,
I don't know that I ever handled your objection question either. So
we'll get to that.
We'll get there. I kind of go down rabbit holes. That's another one of my MOs.
It's all good. Sometimes it's good. But
yeah.
Speaking of like respect and kindness, I just want to mention this. So one of the employees at the Akron Rubber Ducks field, she had this shirt that she would wear probably once or twice a homestand, and it just said, "Kindness is so gangsta." And I just thought it was the best shirt ever. I don't know why I mentioned it now, but I just had to bring it up because I was like,
almost as cool as a shirt I saw one time that said, "All you need is love."
oh yeah, can we see that? Can we see that? I wore that on purpose. That was intentional.
For listeners, for people that can't see it on YouTube right now, that's what Percy's shirt says.
Yes. And I'm going to be wearing it on stream tonight, baby. But, you know, speaking of respect, just obviously what's going on in the world right now, and you already touched on diversity, and but just like if you were moving forward, you know, in a coaching career or a leadership position like you're in, or just with your kids, like what would you tell them about respect, or like how would you want them to live their life, you know, carrying respect as one of their core principles?
Oh man, this is a topic I could talk about for a while, Percy, because it's something I care a lot about. And, you know, going back to our first podcast when we talked about, you know, high school and relationships, and I look back with, I think we all do, not necessarily saying, man, I wish I could go back and change everything, but you look back with a certain amount of regret. And I don't know that I was necessarily like mean or cruel in high school, but I definitely didn't utilize my platform the way that I should have. And that's something that with my kids, it resonates. And I tell my kids all the time, like, just be kind, you know, go out of your way to talk to somebody. And my son, when he first started going to school, you know, I had this thought that like, how would I feel if I knew he was sitting in the lunchroom by himself and not one kid would walk over and have lunch with him? Like, how would I feel? That's my son, right? How would that make me feel? So if that's not the case with him, then maybe he can help the kid who that is the case with. So I would always tell him in the morning, and my wife would kind of laugh, you know, I'd say, Gavin, find somebody today who doesn't have a friend. And this is before the buddy bench and everything was, you know, in Dover.
Yep.
And I would tell him, you know, go find him and talk to him. Like you know, he's in sports and he's a very easygoing kid. And so he has a lot of friends. And I've always told him, like, pull people into your circle, you know, be kinder. And if I could go back to high school, that's one thing that I would just do differently, is just really make a concerted effort to go out of my way to expand my circle and pull more people in. And we talked about how you kind of end up, you know, fitting into your athletic cliques because you spend so much time with them.
Yeah.
But really that's an excuse, because there's still plenty of time in the day that I could have, you know, just walking down the hallway said, you know, hey, how's it going? I heard this is going on with your family. You know, is there anything we could do? Or so I really do regret that, going back, you know, that I wasn't more that way, but I want to try to make sure that I instill that with my kids, that you could literally be the best part of somebody's day.
Yeah.
And we talk about that in sales now, where a lot of people see cold calls as an interruption, but it's amazing. You know, you've already done thousands of cold calls. I've done tens, if not hundreds of thousands. You know, you've walked into situations before where you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, the receptionist is crying, or there's flowers on the desk because they're in bereavement, or I mean, all these different situations, and you literally have the opportunity to be the best part of the day. And that, you know, there's so many different sayings that can support that thought, that, you know, be a fountain, not a drain, but just walking in with a smile on your face. Which, has Percy Gardner ever entered a room?
Hate smiling, man.
Without a smile on his face, right? Didn't Hammy say the best smile in Major League Baseball?
Tito did too.
Tito said that too, yeah. So, I mean, just how important that is. And do you know who Dan Owolabi is?
I do not.
No, so he was he started at New Point. He had started somewhere before that even, but he became really a presence at New Point, and now he does a lot of different things. But he's an African American gentleman, and he posted something on LinkedIn. And if you haven't read it yet, I would encourage you to go find him. And it's Dan Owolabi. It sounds just like it's spelled O-W-A, I believe. But he was talking about the importance of a smile, and was just talking to his children about how when he doesn't smile, he does have a very intimidating look. And he said, you know, that's one reason it can bring joy to other people. And the post, I don't want to steal his thunder, so go read the post.
Yeah, don't ruin it.
But as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, like, this isn't even something that would apply to exclusively an African American. Obviously, right now, with things that are going on in the world, it's extremely important, maybe. But just that ability to spread joy and to have a positive impact in people's lives. And I've told representatives before, sales folks, when they're like, man, it's tough when you go in and somebody's mean to you on a cold call. I know you and Micah hit a little bit on cold calling.
Yeah.
You know, how do you deal with that? And I'm like, that says more about them than it does about you. And you've heard me say that a million times.
Yeah.
That's not going to let them ruin our day. That doesn't have anything to do with what you give Krista when you get home, Percy, P, Peyton, you know, when she gets home. I mean, you can't let that impact you. That says more about that person and where they're at in their life. But all you can do is just flood them with positivity. Hope that you can somehow maybe give them a little bit better perspective that day and leave it at that.
I like that.
To me, casa, make yourself at home. Do your do. Welcome to my pad. This your lab. Go create your move. I got a crib.